So what do you get when you take Deep Rock Galactic's low poly aesthetic and then throw in a few robots and tumbleweeds? Well, you get this chaos. Far, far west. A new entry into the genre that still remains nameless but blends aspects of roguelites and roguelites with extraction shooter gameplay. I already mentioned Deep Rock Galactic, but even the devs themselves have made comparisons with Helldivers 2 as well, and if you're just looking for a surface level comparison, then that's not a bad one. Other analogs that I've either played or could find include some indie titles like Mycopunk, Jump Ship, to big budget AAAs like Warhammer 40k Darktide, or the relatively new John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. If you haven't played any of these games I just mentioned, in which case, the hell are you doing? Go play some Deep Rock or some Mycopunk. These games are masterpieces. Then I'll go through the general gameplay loop for this type of game. First, you head to a mission terminal, you choose a difficulty and mission type from the map, drop in, complete the mission while fighting off some enemies, and sometimes those two can be the same, then extract with your loot, then receive your mission rewards. Then when you've returned to what might be your destroyer or your space rig or the hub for the undertaking of business, or in this case, the town, there's areas that you'll be able to customize your character or weapons, or a place to change cosmetics, which all that usually costs some type of resource that you collect from the missions that you do. You buy upgrades, you get stronger, you play higher difficulty missions, you rinse and repeat. And you might be thinking, Anton, this sounds a bit repetitive. And well, yeah, it is a bit. I think the appeal of these titles is that the core game itself is very satisfying. Stuff like visuals or sound design, gunplay, movement, all of that is just good enough to warrant essentially doing the same thing over and over again. But the word essentially is crucial there, because there still technically is a bit of variety in the form of mission types, right? A new player will have enough to do through that alone that every game will feel fresh enough while gathering resources to upgrade into different weapons or abilities. Some have classes, some allow you to mod your weapons to suit your personal playstyle. All of these games sprinkle a little bit of each of those elements into the recipes to try and keep you coming back for more. So what's the recipe that Far Far West is serving, and is it worth giving it a shot yourself? I think the short answer is yes, it's good, it's really good. There's only a few other games that have craved coming back to as much as this one. RoboQuest, D2 Season of Dawn, and Killing Floor 1 back in the day. That's 3 in the past like 10 years. And if you want to know why, well, that's what the rest of this video is for. Let's break down the recipe real quick. Alright, your equipment kit consists of the following things. You have your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, your utility, and then some elemental abilities. Out of those pieces of equipment, both your primary and your secondary, as well as your character itself, can have stat points allocated to them that give bonuses to things like damage, or reload speed for weapons, or health and move speed for characters. Alongside that is a type of perk system called jokers, which add little tiny quirks to your weapon or character, some useful, some a bit less so. You can equip them before you enter a game, more for higher level equipment, and you can add to them during each mission by picking up temporary ones around the map that drop from certain enemy encounters or points of interest. That last bit is where the roguelite parts fit into this game. There is an amount of progression that you carry over from mission to mission in the form of experience for your character and equipment, as well as 2 forms of currency, souls and gold. Gold is primarily used to unlock weapons for the first time or allocate the stat points to your character and weapons as you level them up, but you can also use it to purchase cosmetics and emotes. Souls are the currency used for everything to do with jokers. You can spend them in each individual weapons joker menu to purchase specific ones, or spend 250 of them at this gambling station here, and it'll let you roll for a random one. They come in a few rarities, the rarer ones being more powerful and more expensive in terms of souls. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, to unlock the higher rarities of jokers to purchase, you'll have to level up your character in order for the jokers to actually appear in the menu, and then level up the piece of equipment so that you're able to purchase the joker for it, with the most powerful requiring level 40 on the individual weapon to purchase. So to summarize, there are no classes. Anyone can equip and use any of the weapons and equipment at any time, 6 primaries, 5 secondaries. The jokers provide the modding system that can slightly change a thing or two about the guns, or shift them closer to specific playstyles when reaching the later game. Also, the elemental abilities act as a status system that all the secondary weapons also use, and some of them can react with other elements from yourself or from teammates for special combos. So far, Evil Raptor has followed the formula pretty well. As I said before, the appeal is going to have to come from this game's charm and how well everything feels when put together. I think I'm a fairly picky gamer when it comes to like weapon feel and ability function, but also a pretty simple person. The enemy models having cartoon proportions and being quite simple makes it pretty easy to land crits on their big old skulls, and how satisfying headshots are being one of the things that I personally look for in a game. I also really enjoy creating giant fire tornadoes by igniting the floor with my bow and then throwing a giant glob drop of acid onto the embers. The higher the difficulty, the more enemies swarmed me and my team, which just meant more skeletons to burn and more heads to pop. Speaking of difficulty, that's actually something about this game that I'm a big fan of. For some strange reason, some games, and I say some, a lot of games really enjoy making enemies into extremely dense bullet sponges when turning up difficulty levels. I have always hated that method of tuning. I don't understand why devs like it. I don't understand why people like it. It's not more interactive. It doesn't make the game actually require any more skill. It just slows the game down and you end up kind of cowering around corners, struggling to kill the most insignificant enemies. Far Far West does not do this. As far as I can tell, enemy health stays exactly the same whether there's one player in the lobby or four. Whether the difficulty is set to easy or maximum. Where the difficulty actually comes into play is the sheer enemy density and the enemy types, as well as environmental hazards and points of interest on the map. Bigger enemies will spawn the higher difficulty you choose, and there will be danger zones placed randomly within the map that will have more enemies just scattered around. Those bigger enemies, plus just a greater number of enemy encounters in general, means that there's more chances to acquire temporary jokers within a mission, and the jokers that drop intrinsically have a higher likelihood of being a higher rarity, which means even though there's a greater number and more powerful enemies to deal with, you as a player are able to become much stronger in terms of the roguelite mods to your kit that you pick up in the mission. I absolutely love the way they've done it here, and it makes me genuinely excited to play the higher difficulties to give myself more of a challenge, as opposed to dreading the insane TTKs when it comes to other games. This game is very much still a work in progress. There's screenshots and teasers of new maps and enemies dropping on the Discord every once in a while, so there's still more room to expand upon enemy and encounter variety as development goes on, and I wouldn't be surprised to see even more enemy types being added to the higher difficulties. I will admit, my favorite game that has a complexity rather than health stacking difficulty system remains Doom Eternal. Reason being, the way Eternal does it is actually by having every single enemy type exist in every difficulty, but giving the harder versions a larger moveset. The health is all the same, which means dispatching them is exactly the same on I'm Too Young to Die versus Ultra Nightmare. But the way the demons dispatch you becomes more varied, so even though the expectation of how long it will take to kill a demon might remain the same, their behavior will make it harder to deal with and might still get the player to change their approach. I think it'd be neat for Evil Raptor to take a note out of that book, since no doubt there will be players that will never touch the higher difficulty levels, and being able to at least experience the existence of every enemy type and every objective and every encounter would be kinda nice. Now, to get to the part of the game that has actually impressed me the most, the mechanical aspect of this game, more specifically the movement. It's nothing extremely complex in terms of inputs, but the skill ceiling for it has me completely engrossed into the entire time. Base movement consists of WASD to walk around, there's no sprinting really, the character just kind of moved the weapon down in the traditional sprint animation in FPS games, but the movement isn't any faster, and there's no shot delay when pressing the fire button out of the sprint animation. The character also has one dash, more with the Joker, that recharges decently quickly, but is only able to be refreshed if the character's on the ground. So overall, pretty basic. The place for some skill expression is speed conservation. Properly timing the dash when hitting the ground will allow the player to maintain a good amount of the speed that they had before they touched down. The higher the speed, the more speed gets conserved. This mechanic alone had me just hopping around the town, doing literally nothing productive for a solid 10 minutes the first time I ended up there after the tutorial, which really only shows how much of a geek I am when it comes to movement, but I swear it's got some practical applications too. Properly bunny hopping with dashes will allow you to be faster than mounted players, and yes, there are on-demand horses, and there are wagons scattered around the maps that act as launch pads, which can send you flying across literally the entire map within seconds if you time dashes and jumps properly. And both of those are plural because there are jokers for your character that give you extra jumps or dashes or both, or even reduce your gravity so you can maintain airtime for longer. Certain abilities unlocked under the electrical element also allow you to boost yourself further or deliver a punch that sends you flying forward, and the impulse grenade that can be equipped also lets you have a portable launch pad anywhere that you'd like, as long as you have an equipment charge. As it stands, the state of Far Far West is pretty phenomenal for a game that, as of the recording of this voiceover, isn't even in early access yet. It's getting there, but we're not quite there. It's already fun, satisfying, kept me coming back for more throughout the entirety of Steam Next Fest, and maybe that's to the detriment of a lot of other demos that I have my eyes on, but it's kept my interest even post-demo, as you can see with this video. So if this video has piqued any of your interest at all, remember that I mentioned that they post content on their Discord, keeping the community updated with everything everything that they work on. They even recently reopened their waiting room Minecraft server that they're hosting until the game becomes playable again. I'll put the link to their Discord down in the video description, along with an unlisted playlist of a few full run-throughs I had of some missions with no commentary, so you guys can take a look at some of the gameplay to see if it actually seems interesting after everything I've had to say. As the existence of this Minecraft server implies, the game unfortunately isn't currently playable, and I don't think there's an estimate on when early access is set to start. Hey, future Anton here, or more like less past Anton? I don't know. Either way, this is post April 10th Anton. A lot of cool stuff the past few days. We had the crew of Artemis 2 get back to Earth, all for astronauts safe and sound. A lot of insane pictures taken from Orion that will probably become like desktop backgrounds from here on out. That was pretty awesome. And on April 9th, there was the III showcase that showed a bunch of new games. Most of them looked like things that I would absolutely want to get my hands on, like Alabaster Dawn. On May 7th, Starseeker, the new Astroneer game, which happens to fall under this category of like roguelites. I still don't know what to call them. But of course, certainly not least, Far Far West now has a release date for early access, April 28th. I can't wait for all those titles I just named and so many more, like Dead as Disco, Prove You're Human, so many things that you can't name them all. But yeah, this is just a little correction that I wanted to make. Now, back to the video. For now, I guess there's no better time to hop back on Deep Rock Galactic and Mycopunk while patiently waiting for more news. Evil Raptor Games, you guys have struck gold, and I can't wait to get my hands on Far Far West when it comes out. For everyone that stuck around to the end of the video, listen, you guys, I appreciate it every single time. Y'all are awesome. I know I didn't cover every single mechanic to the depth that they exist, but this video isn't really meant to be a tutorial, so if you have questions about anything that I didn't talk about, then you can leave a comment and I'll chime in if I have some answers. If you found this video useful and think I deserved it, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more overviews of some indie or maybe higher budget first-person shooters coming out as of late. And that one's serious. I know I promised some Duet Night Abyss content. That game has been going downhill very, very fast. I'm extremely upset. I know I don't sound it, but definitely being a fan of gacha games, but not a fan of the way they do monetization, made me excited for DNA and everything that it had to stand for, but it hasn't really been the best experience so far, so fingers crossed an update coming soon. I hope that the April 7th update will improve some things. I don't know. We'll see. But I do play FPS games. This is my main thing. I'm a Valorant caster. If you guys are curious about that, you can follow me on Twitter. I swear I'll post some streams down there. But other than that, yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever it is you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.